Over the past couple of years, I've actually been asked a lot to do traditional landscape videography and photography plus vertical for social media. This has always been a very tricky conversation for me to navigate because to anyone who's done this professionally can understand the limitations of why that's not really possible. But unfortunately, that's the way things are moving towards, and we just have to try and find ways to service our clients. But I have seen many videos about how if you shoot 4K 380 by 260, you got enough resolution here in the center to have a 1080 by 920 resolution video. But I feel like what people miss out on is just not the simple fact of resolution that be the problem, it's your framing. As an example, using this as my framing, I'm shooting at 20mm at f1.8. I'm about an arm's distance away from the camera, and this type of framing allows me enough headroom, got my eye line on the upper third. Shooting at f1.8 gives a nice shallow depth of field look to the background, and for a landscape video this serves my purpose perfectly. If I was now to just move this into a vertical frame for 1080 by 1920, it now crops into this area here. But as before, I am shooting 4K, so I have 380 by 2160, which is plenty of resolution to now convert this to a 1080 by 1920. But as you can see by the screen overlay, this changes the story completely. The frame now is completely filled with just me, and there's no real surrounding areas to tell a story or just to have a bit more contextualization for where I am. And this is actually more important when it comes to event videography. I have considered in the past, well, why don't I just shoot a little bit wider and then I crop in afterwards? But the trouble is, if I'm shooting wider, then I lose that shallow depth of field. If I was to go to a 14mm lens on this camera, I would also be very distorted and I wouldn't be able to achieve this level of depth of field. And then the other argument is, why don't you just pull back a little bit? But again, distance also plays into fact of shallow depth of field. So even if I was to just simply step back, that changes the visualization of my framing. I won't be able to achieve the same landscape and vertical look for each framing that I would like. The other part of it as well is I've intentionally chosen the 20mm f1.8G for a very specific look. And the look is I want to be able to have it so it looks a bit more personal. This type of framing and aesthetic actually gives you the feeling that I'm actually here talking to you, having a conversation. Whereas this framing right here is on a 35mm f1.4 and I'm further away from the camera, and now it feels I'm more presenting. But although my eye line is still on the upper third and I'm still relatively in the same framing as before, the sense of distance has completely changed. I now feel further away from the camera. And to me, this actually lends to more of a presentation type of video. However, now at 20mm f1.8, I feel this actually lends to a bit more of a tone of a conversation between friends. This is also the lens that I use for my work calls, so it also replicates the whole webcam conversational type of situation that you might be more familiar with. But if I now actually just crop into the center part for the 1080 by 920, I've essentially given myself a crop factor and I've changed my 20mm almost to a 35mm, and then it kind of goes back to that different vibe and that feeling. So for specific social content in an ideal world, I'd actually like to re-record this in a vertical format with the 20mm lens. But for the time efficiency, I won't be doing that. There are some creators out there that actually specifically chosen the Panasonic S5 Mark II because of the fact you can shoot open gate 6K, which actually gives you a 3x4 reissue, a little bit more headroom and a little bit more room at the bottom. But the example I'm using at the moment is purely just based off these talking head type of videos. You do fall into the same issues for other stuff when it comes to events. And it's even trickier when it comes to events because when you're shooting wide landscape, you're thinking about the thirds on the sides, you're thinking about the framing, the environment. But when you have to crop into vertical, you lose so much of that story. So the reality is, if you want top quality social media content and top quality landscape traditional videos, you need to have someone doing specific jobs there. But in this current economic climate, everyone's trying to keep the costs down and everyone's doubling up on their types of roles. But I'm actually just in a position now when I'm working for my employer or any of my clients, I have to shoot landscape as my primary and then convert to social. But focal length with storytelling is something that's always in my mind when it comes to event shooting or anything that I'm shooting. But unfortunately, it's one of those details that don't really concern too many people. They just want the final result to look good. And sometimes they don't even know why things look different or things change. At a later date, I want to do a deeper dive into focal length and storytelling to show you the simple thing of just changing a lens changes the storytelling completely. But I just want to put this quick demo and discussion out there for the struggles when you're actually trying to create content for YouTube and vertical social. But let me know down below if this is something that you also have to consider in your professional life. And you let me know down below how you typically would handle these types of situations. Cheers for watching.